What's up guys, and welcome back to my Pokemon Sun and Moon coverage. It's been a few days since we had a video because nothing really much has been happening, there's not much to talk about, so we had a little break, had some other videos, but we're back talking about some Sun and Moon stuff today. There is some new information coming out on Monday, I believe, so watch out for coverage on that. But today, we are going to talk about Marshadow, the assumed final legendary to fill out the trio of Solgaleo, Lunala, and obviously Marshadow. It was trademarked exactly the same time as Solgaleo and Lunala were, along with the other trademarks for the starters as well. But of course, we don't know anything about it yet. It likely won't get revealed until the games, actually come out, because that's what happened to Zygarde. Because it's not very likely, it's not likely it's going to be a sort of a main part of the storyline, so there's no point in them talking about it. It might be related to a sequel possibly, or just be in the game like Zygarde was. So, Marshadow, we're going to talk about what typing it could be, is sort of the primary thing today, but we're going to have a little discussion about other things as well. So first, let's have a look at the name Marshadow. We're going to assume it's the sort of the final trio member, and we're going to assume it's going to have something to do with eclipses, because of course, Sun, Moon, what is sort of the thing that counters them? I'm going to say eclipse. So we're going to assume it's going to be related to that sort of thing. But the name Marshadow, what's it made up of? Where does it come from? I'm going all Pokemon origins on this thing to see if we can sort of decipher any typings or anything about it. Well, of course, you can see the first half of the word is marsh. So maybe that indicates it's something to do with a marsh. Maybe marsh links in with like earth, ground, so a marsh is a type of area that's watery, it's got grass in it, it's muddy, maybe it sort of references the earth, because obviously we have sun, moon. The last sort of thing that makes up of that is the earth, because obviously back in sort of the ancient times, people believed that the earth went around the sun, and all we really knew about was the moon and the sun. We didn't know about the other planets, we knew about other stars as well, but they weren't as important as the moon and the sun. So a sort of a trio like that. So possibly marsh might mean earth, and it might mean that Marshadow is going to be like the earth legendary that interacts with the sun and moon legendaries, who knows. The second half of the word is actually shadow. Obviously marsh is part of that, but shadow there. Shadow, dark. Obviously whenever we hear shadow, dark is the first typing that comes to mind, or the first sort of relation. And shadow again sort of links into the idea of eclipses, because when an eclipse happens, either the sun, either the moon puts a shadow onto the earth, hence why we don't see the sun, or the earth puts a shadow onto the moon, because the earth is in between the sun and the moon. So shadow makes a lot of sense there. However, there could be a third link in here. The very sort of start of the word is Mars. So take Mars out of marsh, Mars, the red planet. We have Earth, Moon, Mars. Now, obviously, Sun, Earth, Moon is in the main trio, but Mars, the red planet, is sort of like it's our closest ally, our closest friend in the planetary universe. Whenever we talk about visiting other planets, we don't say, "Oh yeah, let's go land on Mercury," because obviously you would be able to. Mars is like the next planet. I'm going to say, I don't know how to explain it, but Mars is a possibility to link in there. I've talked about in my alchemy videos how alchemy has the metals related to planets like the sun, the moon. Obviously they're not planets necessarily, but you guys get the idea. Sun, moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, etc. So having a Pokemon related to Mars would make sense in that aspect. So let's look at the typing of the other two legendaries first, and then we'll talk about what the typing for Marshadow could be. We have Solgaleo being Steel Psychic, and Lunala being Ghost Psychic, both being part Psychic. Now, this is a weird sort of thing when it came out, because everyone was like, why is Solgaleo not part Fire? And why is Lunala not part Dark? Because they are the sun and the moon. Why not? Well, it's because it seems like the Pokemon Company likes to have anything related to space being part Psychic type. We have Deoxys, it's Psychic type. Elgium and Beheeyem, Psychic types. Sigilyph, which I don't think is really related to space, but again, part Psychic types. Anything supernatural or anything space-like generally is a Psychic type. I guess that's just the easiest type to relate to it without actually introducing a Cosmic type. So that's probably why they're part Psychic type. The Steel and the Ghost themselves, we know the Steel for Solgaleo is because it was the lion that, the green lion that purifies metals sort of thing, and the Ghost for Lunala, we don't exactly know where that comes from, but it could be about the fact that, Ghost does relate to the moon in some form of way. Maybe it also says, when the moon out, ghostly things happen. Maybe that's sort of the relation there. Anyway, looking at the typing there, the reason they're not fire and dark are because they're not the actual sun. They don't represent the sun and the moon, because that would be really weird. They're actually sort of, I can't exactly remember the name off the top of my head, but they are the emissaries. That's the one. The emissaries of the sun and the moon. They are, sort of the I don't know how to explain it. Sort of the stepping stone between us and the sun and the moon is the best way I can explain that. So it would make sense that, if Marshadow were to complete the trio and be related to eclipses, that the Marshadow would actually be strong against both Solgaleo and Lunala, because of course, it would make sense, it will be able to cancel out the sun and the moon and their emissaries, sort of thing. Now, thinking about Zygarde, Yveltal, and Xerneas, obviously Zygarde doesn't actually have any strengths against its counterparts. Obviously Xerneas has got Fairy against Dragon, and Zygarde is Ground against Flying for Yveltal, so that is making sense. But obviously then Perfect Zygarde does gain some sort of attacks that can help it there, but that's not like necessarily like a direct sort of cancelling out of a trio sort of thing, whereas this would be more of a cancelling out, like the trio leader or the strongest member of the trio cancels out the other two. So what two types could we do here? Well, obviously we had Marsh, so maybe Ground fits in there, and obviously Ground would be good against Solgaleo because it's part of Steel. That would cancel that out there. And then we have Dark, possibly linking with Shadow. And Dark would be good against Lunala because Lunala has a 4 times weakness to the Dark type. So obviously it would be more strong against Lunala than against Solgaleo, but it's still got strengths against them. However, we could have, instead of Ground, Fire. Why Fire? Well, because we have Mars as part of Marshadow. Mars, the red planet, red, fire, maybe. It's possible Fire would then be strong against Solgaleo, but whether that would be too sort of literal, then Marshadow might be known as like the sun god instead of Solgaleo being related to the sun. Who knows exactly what that would be like. But let's talk more about Marshadow and its possible counters, I guess, of these two legendary Pokemon. Let's talk about eclipses. Eclipses are big things when it comes to the sun and the moon. They're the two biggest ways, apart from general day-to-day things, the two biggest ways that the sun and the moon can actually change. When you have a solar eclipse, the moon comes in front of the sun, and you only see sort of the outline of the sun, and very little light makes it to Earth. That's cool, but that would be bad, obviously, for the sun, because we wouldn't be able to get the sun, and bad for the Earth in general. And then we have the lunar eclipse, the lunar eclipse, which is slightly different. It's where the Earth comes between the sun and the moon. And obviously, the only reason the moon shines at night is because the light from the sun is reflected off of it. So when you get a lunar eclipse, you actually get a red moon, or a blood moon, as I'm sure you know. Why is it red? Well, it's because the only light that actually makes it to the moon is light that's passing through the atmosphere of the Earth, and because the atmosphere contains certain elements like oxygen and nitrogen, it takes away sort of the blue and the green light, and only the red light makes it to the moon, hence why it looks red. So eclipses are a big thing when it comes to suns and moons. So maybe Marshadow is something that can cause an eclipse, is just the eclipse Pokemon in general. Maybe it's not actually sort of related to eclipses, but it is a cancelling out of the sun and the moon, and it could be a threat in that way. We're not looking maybe at a literal eclipse, but we could be looking at a Pokemon that can counter the emissaries of the sun and the moon and be some sort of villainous Pokemon. Who knows? Those are just my thoughts regarding Marshadow. Let me know what typing you think it'll be down below in the comments section, and any other thoughts you have about the Pokemon too, about how it might fit in with the lore and sort of mythology of this trio. Any ideas you have, I'll be happy to hear them. But this is going to be it for me today. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button. But for now, this is going to be it for me today. I said that already. I'm just going to go. I'll be seeing you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.